So have you heard things say, always remember, right? Well, and this month, we're talking about new beginnings. And so I wanted to share a few things this morning for us to always remember. And note that I said us, because we are all on this journey together, aren't we? There's no I and there's no you. There is only we and us. That's all there is. Because everything, and through all the years that I've been doing this, what I have come to understand greater and greater every time is that everything that I say in this community, from this platform, it's really going right here. It's really coming right back to me. And so this is our experience together. So as we're talking about new beginnings, and this year it's all about leaning in. Because through the last couple of years, we've had opportunities to lean into all sorts of interesting things, haven't we? Sometimes we didn't lean so well. Sometimes we leaned a little too much. But the whole thing is we have the opportunity to lean with intention into all that life has to offer. And so this morning, one of the first things we need to remember is to let go of the past. It seems like as I am moving around the community and moving around Omaha and even around the country, what I'm hearing is everybody is still living in the past. Everybody is still pointing fingers at the past. Everybody is still using something that happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, 4 years ago as an excuse for how we show up today. And that's not really what it's all about. But it's about letting go of the past so that we can be fully present to the now. Because what I have learned in my 20 years of living is that if I'm not present to the now, there's no way I'm ready for the what's next. Because this is all I truly have, is what's happening with this breath in this moment with this thought. And if I'm focusing on what's behind me, it doesn't work. I know you've all heard the analogy of why the rearview mirror in the car is so much smaller than the windshield. Because it's more important to be looking at what's ahead of us and what is going on right that minute than it is to be peering at where we've already been. And so let go of the past. Something else to remember, face your fears. There's always something that can give us a little bit of trepidation. Whether it's real or whether it's something that we've made up. What I've learned, though, is when I'm going through something or going in the process of doing something, process of moving forward, process of new beginnings, there's usually a little bit of a fear that comes up. I was actually having a conversation with Ramona yesterday about this, and I referenced something that I finally recognized that where the angst was there was a little fear going on. And it's like, okay, so what's that about? And one of the things that she asked me was, she goes, well, how's your guidance? I said, well, my guidance is fine. So I know that my fear is irrational. I know that my fear is something that I, as a human being, am making up, that it has nothing to do with my divine guidance around something. And that's what we need to focus on, is let go of our fears when we come into new beginnings, when we come into change, and allow ourselves to be fully anchored in our divine guidance, fully anchored in that knowing that is ours to hold. Do you know what it feels like when you are in the center and focused on your divine guidance? I know what it feels like. And so when I'm not there, I know what that feels like too. I would much rather be centered in the truth of what I know and what I'm being guided to do than stepping out and hanging out in that fear place. Because that's where the fear places are, is when you are focused outside of that truth that you know. So something else to always remember is watch the stories you tell yourself. Oh, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am one of the greatest storytellers of all time. I can tell a story, and I can make up more and more crap than anybody I know. You got me beat? Okay. Well, I'd make a deal with you. I'll let go of my stories if you'll let go of yours. That's the kicker right there, is we can spin a story. And I venture to say that everyone that is in this room is a fantastic story spinner. And we have the opportunity. Watch the stories. Be careful what the stories are. You know, it's interesting because as I was preparing for this morning, I was thinking, you know, what is a marked story that I think of that really, had I gotten anchored in that story, could have really changed my life? And I think back to the fall. Well, let's see. It would have been like to November, probably. October, November of 2020. Had nothing to do with that C word. Nothing whatsoever. What it had to do with was, and those of you that have been here will know what I'm talking about. Those of you who are yet to be there, it'll happen. 6 months before your 65th birthday, you get inundated with all of these letters, mails, emails telling you that you're getting old and that you need to be thinking about Medicare. You need to be thinking about Social Security. You need to be thinking about your retirement. You need to be getting ready for the rest of your life. And so I was getting bombarded with all of that. And we were going through I was going through the same thing everybody else was, with, you know, the feelings of isolation and separation that were perceived in our society at that time. And I could have gotten really easily caught up in that story. Oh, I'm getting old. Oh, what value do I have? Wow, my body, you know, Medicare. Oh my gosh, you know, all of these things. And what I also noticed was all of these communications seemed to have been dumbed down. It was like all of a sudden I was expected to not have any kind of understanding or education and being able to have communications around this level of my care, around this part of my life. It's like when you hit 65, you go stupid. That's how it felt. That's how it felt it was coming in. And so I caught myself spinning a story. Oh, well, you know, you're getting old. You need to start looking at things that you're going to do as your life begins to end. You know, how much longer do you have a purpose? Oh, man. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to retirement? Social Security? How can I afford? What am I going to do? And the story went on and on and on. And what I noticed is my body began to go, okay, you want to think like you're 110? We'll show you. We'll get into that vibration with you, all right? You ready? But one morning I woke up and I realized I had a choice. I've always said age is just a number that society assigns to us as we progress through this journey. And I thought about all of the beautiful people I know, many of which are in this community, that I know are on the other side of that 65th marker. I thought, man, all these people are vital and exciting, and they live joyful lives. What am I thinking? What am I doing? And so I shifted, and I went, this just marks a new beginning. This just marks a new experience. And I need to show up as the truth of who I am and be that. And everything shifted and changed. I began to have a new vitality of life. I began to look at how I could take care of myself to ensure that I lived beyond the typical longevity of the females in my family. So what I'm about to tell you is I expect to be here at least to age 100 because that's how my family rolls. But had I gone into that consciousness and gotten myself anchored in that story of the woe is me's, I'm getting ready to be ancient, there's no way that that would happen, would it? My being would go, okay, if that's what you're holding on to, okay. So can you imagine how that story could have impacted my life? So please, always remember to watch the stories you tell yourself. Because you can tell somebody else something, and that's okay, great, fine. But it's what you truly take in and believe and hold as the truth about you that makes an impact and makes a difference. You want to hear something else you need to always remember? You ready? Endings are necessary. Imagine when you were in kindergarten, if you would have tried to have held on to all of those things that you had in kindergarten when you got to high school. Would there have been any way? You had to end one experience in order to fully engage in another. You had to let go of some things. You know, I think about when I went through and I was doing my studies to become a minister. And as I was going through that, it was a 3-year process. That was for the final piece of it, to get ordained. It was a 3-year process. And I remember driving to Unity Village down in Lee Summit, Missouri, for my final trip of my studies. It was the one in which they were going to make the decision. Does she or doesn't she get ordained? And as I was driving down the road, and I had no doubt that it was going to happen, you know, everything was flowing perfectly. But I'm driving that 3-hour journey between here and Kansas City. And I'm thinking, wow, life as I have known it for the past several years is about to be over. Everything is going to be new. Everything is going to be different. Now, physically, no, not so much. But in here and in here. And what I realized is I had to let go and close the chapter of that part of my life in order to step into what is here today. And so there was some sadness, and that's okay. That means that whatever it is that we were holding on to had a special place in our lives. But it also means that it prepared us for what that next step is. And so as endings are necessary, celebrate what was so that you can be fully present and fully engaged and fully appreciate what is becoming. Because otherwise, you know, if you've got your hands full with never ending anything, it gets a little crazy, doesn't it? It's so hard to focus on the yes of what is becoming whenever you're stuck in the, oh no, that fear piece comes in there. But what if I fail? What if there's a new beginning and something goes wrong and I fail or I don't succeed or it's not as good as I thought it was going to be? Okay. Failures can offer us lessons. I have never had the appearance of failing at something that I didn't have a lesson that came out of it that supported me in being successful the next go around. And I love this. Failures are a bruise. They're not a permanent tattoo. Failures are just a little discoloration in that moment. But they're not something you will carry with you forever if you make the choice not to. We all have a choice on what we hold on to, don't we? So honor any time that you don't feel like you were fully successful as a learning opportunity to go, okay, How many times did Thomas Edison fail at creating the light bulb? Thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Did he stop trying? No. And aren't we glad? Aren't we glad? Because we have opportunity to be seen, to be heard, because a lot of that all rolls together. So failure is just an opportunity to learn and move forward again. New beginnings. They're a chance for us to have, to do, to have, and to be more. What an opportunity it is as we fully engage in new beginnings. When you get up in the morning, do you get up in the morning with the intent of being in yesterday? Or do you get up in the morning with the intent of having a greater experience, of being more than you were yesterday, being happier, or maybe not happier, but being at least as much and hopefully more? My desire is to wake up each morning happier than the day before. To some point I wake up and I just can't stand myself. You know? Could you enjoy being so happy that you almost couldn't stand yourself? A few years ago, I had somebody that told me they couldn't stand being around me because I was too happy all the time. I don't even remember their name now. Because when somebody is stuck in that, they tend to disappear. But I do remember those words. You're just so happy all the time, I can't stand being around you. Oh, bless their hearts. And those of you that have heard my rendition of the South and what that means understand exactly what I'm talking about. So bless yourself by being open to new beginnings. Bless yourself by engaging in these few things. So remember, let go of the past. Face your fears. Watch the stories you tell yourself because they're powerful. Endings are necessary. You can't start on a new journey until you've completed another one. Failures are available to teach us and offer us lessons. And new beginnings are the chance for us to be, to do, and have a greater experience of life. How does that feel? True? Good. Because that's my goal, is to just share true teachings with you guys. So why don't we take this into a time of meditation? And if you will, just breathe into this moment and allow yourself to feel the comfort or the discomfort of new beginnings, knowing that they are a gift, knowing that each breath is a new beginning, that each thought is a new beginning. And as we embrace them, we let go of old ideas, of old beliefs, of old stories. And we allow divine guidance to supersede any fears that may arise. And we lean into our powers of understanding and discernment as we move into new beginnings with that opportunity to see the beauty and the good. And as we are connected in this moment with our highest, most divine nature, we allow ourselves to have an awareness of the stories we tell. And we filter those stories, allowing the fiction to be identified as fiction and the truth to be identified as truth. And we pay attention to the stories we tell ourselves and others. And we set the intention of only writing the good stories. And in this, the month of January, the month of new beginnings, we know that we had to say goodbye to December in order for January to emerge. And so as we do, we honor the endings in our lives so that new beginnings are birthed. And we're open to receive the gifts of those beginnings. And we move through the experiences, and even as we contemplate other experiences, as we contemplate situations in which we maybe feel like we don't quite measure up, or things didn't turn out as we thought they would, these aren't failures. These are opportunities to evaluate and be different. We are open to the lessons of this journey. And as we go into a few moments of silence, I invite us to embrace the beauty of how new beginnings offer us a chance to do, have, and be more in the silence. In the silence. And as we bring our focus back to this now moment, we do so embracing the truth of who we are, embracing the knowing that we are expansive beings living in an expansive universe in that field of unlimited potential. And that potential offers us new beginnings with each breath and each thought. And for this knowing, for this truth, for this experience we share together today, we are indeed grateful. And so it is. Amen.
So many choices, so little time. So many mountains left to climb. But I know that it gets clearer as I get nearer to where I'm meant to be. I can't be anybody but myself, and everybody else is already taken. I've got to follow my own road, and God only knows where I'm going. Everybody's trying to fit in. I gotta feel good in my own skin. Gonna use my imagination for inspiration every chance I get. I can't be anybody but myself, and everybody else is already taken. I've got to follow my own road, and God only knows where I'm going. I'm trusting my instincts, they're keeping me in sync with my head and my heart and my soul. I can't be anybody but myself, everybody else, you ever notice that, is already taken. I've got to follow my own road, and God only knows where I'm going. I can't be anybody but myself, and everybody else is already taken. I've got to follow my own road, and God only knows where I'm going. I've got to follow my own road, and God only knows where I'm going.
Blessed assurance, prosperity's mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of divinity, child of the light, born in the Spirit, washed in His love. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. Perfect contentment, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending, they bring from above echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. Perfect transcendence, all is at rest. I in my vision am happy and blessed, watching and waiting. I'm moving in love, I'm filled with the Spirit, and I'm holding its love. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, walking in oneness all the day long. This is my story. It can be every one of our stories. This is the promise that we've been given. Story, this is my story. I'm walking in oneness, living in oneness, moving in oneness all the day long. Mr. Adam Johnson on trumpet, Tommy Wells on bass, Larry on guitar, do-do-do-do-do, Matt Scaff on drums, do-do-do-do-do-do, walking